In this tutorial video, we're going to talk about viewing and navigating futures charts. There are multiple ways to view a chart in this platform. Depending on how you have chosen to set your pages up, you may have a chart embedded into the page itself, or you might have opted to create a page that has a chart built in and is the feature of that page. So for example, if I was using bar charts, I could have an entire page dedicated to charts, and I might want to add tabs for various markets. I could, for example, click on this, and I could even choose a different type of chart if I wanted to for a different market. So as you can see, you can have a tab dedicated to charts, or in my opinion, what's an easier way to do it is to have a chart built into your page or your layout. You could do this by using the default page in the system, which is the home page, or you can use the page that we've developed for our clients, the DT view, DeCarly Trading View. If you click on this, you'll notice there's an area on the lower right-hand corner for charts. And if I expand this, I can see a very healthy looking chart. This is the gold chart. In a previous tutorial, I mentioned that these charts are linked to the quote board. So if I wanted to look at an S&P chart, I would click on S&P in my quote board. It's very obvious, hopefully, that the easiest way to run this platform is to make sure every market that you want to trade is in your quote board. If I click on crude oil, my chart populates to crude oil. If I click on natural gas, this same chart becomes a natural gas chart. Now, some people may not want that because some of us are analyzing, drawing trend lines, doing that sort of thing. If that's the case, you should absolutely have a page dedicated to your chart. So for example, you may have something like this going. You could draw trend lines and just keep them there until the next time you log in. And if you want to look at a different market, you can simply pull up a new fresh chart. So that's another way to do it. You may have a chart that has multiple tabs. This one is gold, and we can set different tabs to different chart types, different time frames, or we could have tabs for gold, silver, natural gas, crude oil, however you want to do it. Whatever you can dream up, you can do. Going back to the layout that we recommend for most of our clients, we can click on this to expand our chart, and from here we can customize it accordingly. We may want to add studies. You can click this button here that says add a study. You can also do it from the bottom. The same button is down at the bottom of the page and in the upper right hand corner. If I click on add study, I can scroll through dozens of indicators, or I could just filter them. I could say I want to look at Williams %R, and then I could click on that and add it. I tend to be biased towards RSI and Bollinger Bands, so I'm going to add those. And you can either click add and keep shopping, or you can click add and close. To scroll up or down on the right menu, you're going to either expand or scrunch your chart. So if you're trying to minimize it or maximize it, you can just roll your mouse. You can also left click and move your mouse up and down. So some of you don't have scrollers on your mouse, and if that's the case, just click on it and move your mouse up and down and it'll scroll for you. You can do the same thing at the bottom. If you put your cursor over the bottom axis and scroll your mouse, or click on it and drag it, it'll resize everything. And you're going to find that sometimes if you go from different time frames, for example, this is a daily chart. If I try to change this to a 5-minute chart, which is a pretty dramatic difference, you see everything is scrunched together because the price scales off. If this happens to you, click on this rescale button down here in the lower right, and it brings the chart back to life. You could put 3, 4, 5 indicators onto the chart. I choose one, but if you wanted to, you could add a few more. We'll add a moving average, and this is moving averages are going to be embedded into the upper side of the chart. We can do slow stochastics. There's really no limit to how many you can put on other than your tolerance for those. And if you want to delete or remove, you can click on this little button here and remove. You can also actually click on it and press the delete on your keyboard. So whichever is easier for you. But just remember, there's a little arrow here next to each indicator, and if you want to remove it, just simply click remove. And you can also set it as a default to all your charts by clicking add to all charts. If you're somebody like me that is repetitive and only uses a handful of indicators, that's probably a good idea, so you don't have to add it to every new chart that you build. You'll be able to see any working orders or any positions that you have directly on the chart. If you notice this green line here, that is a long or a buy order that I have working in natural gas at 292.9, basically $2.93 roughly is where that order is working. And you can see that right there on the chart. If I went to a daily chart, it might be a little more reasonable, looks a little more attainable. It's actually just right under the market. I'm going to go back to gold. And I can do that by minimizing this chart, going back to my quote board, clicking on gold, and then re-expanding. You've probably noticed this, but I'll point it out. If the watermark in the back shows the symbol and the written version of the contract you're trading. Now you can actually remove that in the settings if you don't like that, if that's driving you crazy. You don't have to have that. I do have a long position here in gold. This is a demo account, by the way, and it's actually long from a pretty nice price. It's making a little bit of money. If I wanted to easily trade in and out of a particular market, I can click on this button here, and it pulls off the sidebar. It opens up the sidebar, and from here I can see everything that I've got going on in this market. I can see not only my open position up here, I'm long one, and from what price and what the profit and loss is. I happen to be up $2,200 on this. Too bad it's a demo account. I can easily liquidate that position by selling at the market. I can add to it by clicking the buy market button. You can see how quickly you could navigate in and out of the market. I could also choose to enter limit orders using the bid or the ask, these trade pad numbers. Now, I will have a tutorial video that goes into a little more depth on using the trade pad and the dome and different ways to place trades. This is just kind of an introductory mention of the trade pad on the chart. There are quite a few settings to be aware of in the chart. If I go down to the bottom menu bar, there's a little eyeball icon. I can click on that, and it shows open, high, low, close, net change, those sorts of things, the daily high, monthly change. So I can get all of this information by unclicking this. If I toggle it, it cleans up the chart a little bit and hides that information. I can also change between candle charts, hollow candle charts, bar charts, whatever it is that you like to use. If I click on the gear icon, that pulls up a settings window. And not only can I add or subtract the indicators or the studies, they call them, which are oscillators, indicators, whatever you want to call them. You can subtract them by clicking on this button and choose remove, or in some situations you may want to duplicate. So for example, you may want to have more than one moving average on your chart. The first one might be for the 21-day moving average, and then you might also have one for a 10-day moving average. So you can have multiple moving averages on the same chart if you want to. You can also go through each of these various settings and see if any of them are interesting to you. The eyeball icon represents the information either being visible or not visible. If the eye is highlighted or dark in this case, it's visible. If it's grayed out and there's an X across through it, it's invisible, but you can make it visible by clicking. If you don't want to see your orders and positions on the chart, you can unselect these. And it cleans things up a little bit. Some people get stressed out when they see those types of things on their chart, so you don't have to see them. And if you're wondering what thermometer is, I also wondered that. It is basically a visual representation of where the market stands relative to its previous close. I guess basically the thermometer is just a fancy way of saying displaying the high, the low, and current price on the chart. If all the gray lines on the chart are bothering you, those are session lines. You can click on the settings icon and unselect session lines, and it cleans it up a little bit. Anywhere you see the little information icon, you can click on it and open up the symbol information, probably more commonly known as contract specs. You can see just about anything you need to see there. First notice date, last trading date, today's contract volume, yesterday's contract volume, high-low, previous, bid-ask. If this all-inclusive view is a little too much for you, you can click on trading hours and just see the open and close times. You can click on the calendar, and that'll basically show you today's stats. And if you click on the eye, that will bring up contract specs. If you go back to all, that's going to show you everything all in one window. If you want to close this window, just unselect the eye or the information icon, and it'll close that window for you. If you like to draw lines or use tools, there's a Fibonacci retracement tool that you can simply click on it to open it up, and you'll see that it opens up a little dialog box. You can delete it if you don't like what you did. You can write little notes on your chart. To delete it, just click on it and click the trash can, or you can just hit delete on your keyboard and that'll do it as well. One last thing of note is if you click on the settings icon, you'll notice a lot of this stuff is customizable. So we can change the parameters or the style, meaning a thick line, thin line, red, yellow, blue, whatever colors you want. So you can adjust any of the parameters of the oscillators or indicators that you choose. A few of the items on the chart also have settings windows. You can click on the settings or icon and choose the time frames or any specifics that it's allowing you to choose. For example, if you choose the order settings, you might only want to see filled orders, you might only want to see working orders, you might want to see neither. And you can change the colors of the codes for long, short, stop loss orders, etc. In the past, I've had people ask me if they can change the colors of the bars. For example, different colors for up bars, down bars. It's usually traditionally green and red. But if you really wanted to change those sorts of things, you could go to the settings window and choose the settings of the symbol. And then you can change the bar colors here. If you wanted to change the chart that you're viewing without going back to the other window and toggling from the quote board, you could easily do that. If you click on this drop down arrow here on the chart tab, go to replace, and then change it to whatever market you want to take a look at. We'll change it to the S&P, and there we go. Now we're looking at an S&P chart. You can do it that way. You'll probably notice you can also choose buy or sell directly from the tab. And it will give you a list of previously viewed symbols. So if you don't want to search for a symbol and you happen to have pulled it up recently, you can just click on something that's been previously used and get to it that way. So the thing about this platform is there's more than one way to skin a cat. You can navigate it in many different ways. And the key is finding what's going to work best for you. For me, running everything through the quote board and using it that way is the quickest and most efficient, but that might not be for you. In the future, we hope to build a page that we can share with our clients that is basically a chart page with several tabs that can be toggled between for easy viewing of the most critical markets that you might be trading. In the next tutorial, we're going to talk about placing trades using the standard order entry ticket.